Author's POV. The Kim mansion was always quiet, but today the silence felt heavy. It was the silence of things left unsaid, of a family stitched together by marriage and duty, not by blood or choice. And in the heart of that silence were two boys, now young men, who used to share whispers and secrets until life forced them apart. The front door clicked open. Taehyung, standing by the grand staircase, felt his heart jump to his throat. He didn't need to look to know who it was. The energy in the house shifted, grew warmer, yet more dangerous. Jungkook stepped inside, dropping his duffel bag on the marble floor. His black hair was a little long, sweeping over his intense eyes. He looked taller, broader, more like a man than the boy who had left this house 3 years ago. His eyes scanned the foyer and landed on Taehyung. For a moment, neither moved. The air between them crackled with memory. JK, Taehyung. His voice was deeper. It wasn't a greeting, it was just a name, spoken with a weight that made Taehyung shiver. T. Jungkook, welcome home. The ah slipped out, an old habit from when they were closer. Jungkook's eyes narrowed slightly. JK, home, that's funny. This hasn't been my home since your mother married my father. His words were sharp, meant to cut. Taehyung felt them slice right through him. He looked down, playing with the sleeve of his soft sweater. T, they'll be back from their trip tomorrow. Your room, it's still the same, next to mine. Jungkook let out a short, humorless laugh. He picked up his bag and started walking up the stairs. As he passed Taehyung, he paused. So close Taehyung could smell his cologne, something woody and new. JK, try to stay out of my way, stepbrother. It'll be easier for both of us. He continued up the stairs, leaving Taehyung standing alone, his heart pounding with a painful mix of hurt and something else, something he had tried very hard to bury. Later that night, Taehyung couldn't sleep. The wall between their rooms felt too thin. He crept downstairs to the kitchen for a glass of water. The moonlight streamed through the large windows, painting everything silver. He didn't hear Jungkook come in. JK, can't sleep either, Taehyung gasped, almost dropping his glass. Jungkook was leaning against the doorway, dressed in just sweatpants, his torso bare. Taehyung's mouth went dry. The boy was gone, replaced by a man sculpted from shadows and moonlight. I was just thirsty. JK, nervous. Why would I be nervous? Jungkook pushed off the doorframe and walked slowly into the kitchen. He stopped right in front of Taehyung, looking down at him. Taehyung had forgotten how tall he was, how his presence could fill a room. JK, because I'm back, because things are different. His eyes weren't angry now. They were searching, tracing the lines of Taehyung's face in the dim light. Taehyung couldn't look away. You hate me. It wasn't a question. It was a sad fact he had lived with for years. Jungkook's expression softened, just for a second. He reached out, his fingers gently brushing a stray curl from Taehyung's forehead. The touch was electric. JK, I don't hate you, T. I never could. I just hated all of this. His hand lingered near Taehyung's cheek. The air in the kitchen grew thick and warm. Taehyung's breath hitched. This was dangerous. This was the line they should never cross. But in that silent, moonlit kitchen, every forbidden feeling they had ever hidden came rushing to the surface. Jungkook's gaze dropped to Taehyung's lips. And for the first time in 3 years, the wall between them didn't just feel thin. It felt like it was crumbling. Author's point of view. The touch in the kitchen was a spark in a room full of old, dry kindling. Neither of them moved away. The world narrowed to the space between their bodies, to the feel of Jungkook's rough fingers against Taehyung's smooth skin. "JK, you look at me the same way you used to." His voice was a low murmur, a secret just for them. "T, what way?" "JK, like I'm your secret, like I'm the only person in the world." Taehyung's heart hammered against his ribs. This was wrong, so wrong. But it felt more right than anything had in years. He had missed him, not just the boy, but the soul that had always understood his. Slowly, giving Taehyung every chance to pull away, Jungkook leaned in. His lips brushed Taehyung's, a whisper of a kiss, a question. Taehyung's answer was to close the distance. The kiss wasn't soft or hesitant. It was years of longing poured into one moment. It was fire and sweetness, a clash of lips and tongues that spoke of loneliness and a desperate need to reconnect. Taehyung's hands came up to grip Jungkook's bare shoulders, holding on as if he might drown. Jungkook's arms wrapped around Taehyung's waist, pulling him flush against his body. The cool kitchen counter pressed into Taehyung's back, a stark contrast to the heat radiating from Jungkook. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless, foreheads touching, eyes closed, sharing the same air. "JK, we shouldn't, T. I know, but neither let go. JK, I thought about this. Every day I was gone, T. Don't say that. It makes it harder. JK, it's already hard, Taehyung. Pretending I don't feel this. It's impossible." That night, they didn't go back to their separate rooms. They crossed the hallway, hand in hand, and Jungkook pushed open the door to his old room. It was like a museum of their past, posters, trophies, forgotten things. But in the center of it, they created a new present. It was a night of slow discovery. Gentle touches in the dark, whispered confessions against warm skin. It was Jungkook mapping every inch of Taehyung, as if relearning a beloved landscape. It was Taehyung letting go of every fear, trusting the person he had always loved in the most secret corner of his heart. T, Jungkook, he breathed out, a prayer and a plea. "JK, I'm here, I have you." When they finally fell asleep, tangled in each other, the first light of dawn was coloring the sky. For a few precious hours, the world was just them. No labels, no past hurts, just T and Koo. But morning came, harsh and real. Taehyung woke to an empty bed. The scent of Jungkook was on the sheets, but the space beside him was cold. Panic, sharp and immediate, gripped his chest. Had he dreamed it? Had it been a beautiful, cruel fantasy? He found Jungkook in the living room, dressed, staring out the window. He looked distant, the man from last night locked away again. T. Jungkook. Jungkook turned. His face was a mask of conflict. JK, our parents will be home in a few hours. T. So, JK, so last night, it can't happen again. The words were like a physical blow. Taehyung wrapped his arms around himself. T. Why? Because I'm your stepbrother. Because you're ashamed. JK. Because it's complicated. Jungkook ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Because this, us, it could ruin everything. My father, your mother, the family. T. What about what we want? Taehyung's voice was small but fierce. Jungkook looked at him, and for a second the mask slipped. Taehyung saw the raw want, the same fear and love that mirrored his own. JK, wanting you is the easiest thing I've ever done, Jungkook confessed, his voice rough. But having you, that's a storm I don't know if we can survive. He walked out of the room, leaving Taehyung standing alone, feeling more lost than ever. The line had been crossed, but now they were stranded in a no-man's land between desire and duty. Author's point of view. The parents returned, and the house became a stage. Taehyung and Jungkook played their parts perfectly. Polite, distant stepbrothers, they called each other by formal titles, avoided lingering touches, and kept conversations to a minimum. It was agony, but the heart wants what it wants, and theirs wanted each other with a desperation that refused to be silenced. Their secret world began in stolen moments. A week after their parents returned, Taehyung was in the home library, lost in a book of poetry. Jungkook found him there. JK, reading about love, he asked softly, closing the door behind him. T, maybe, it's safer than living it. Jungkook walked over and took the book from his hands. He placed it on the table and caged Taehyung against the bookshelf. JK, who said anything about safe? This kiss was different from the first. It was hungry, desperate, fueled by a week of pretending indifference. It was lips and teeth and quiet moans swallowed by the other. It was Jungkook's hands gripping Taehyung's hips, pulling him closer until no space remained. T, we can't there in the next room, Taehyung whispered against his lips, even as his hands slid under Jungkook's shirt. JK, then be very, very quiet. And so it began. The library, the empty garden at midnight, Jungkook's room when the house was asleep. They became experts in silence, in hidden glances across the dinner table that burned with promise, in secret texts that were immediately deleted. Their friends noticed something was off. One afternoon, Jimin and Hoseok came over. Jimin, TT, you've been so quiet lately. And you're glowing. Did you fall in love? Jimin asked, wiggling his eyebrows. Taehyung almost choked on his juice. T, don't be silly, just sleeping well. From across the yard, where he was talking with Hoseok, Jungkook's eyes met his. A slow, secret smile played on his lips. Sleeping well. The memory of last night, tangled together in Jungkook's bed, flashed between them. Hoseok, hey Jungkook, you seem lighter. Soul agrees with you, huh? JK. Something like that, Jungkook said, his eyes still locked on Taehyung. It was thrilling and terrifying. The fear of getting caught was a constant buzz under their skin, but it only made their moments together more intense. Every touch felt like a victory. Every whispered, "I love you," in the dark felt like a rebellion. But secrets have a weight. One night, after a particularly passionate moment, Taehyung lay in Jungkook's arms, tracing patterns on his chest. "T, what are we doing, Koo? This can't last forever." Jungkook kissed the top of his head, holding him tighter. "JK, I don't know. I just know that when I'm with you, everything else fades. You feel like my home, T, not this house." Taehyung's eyes filled with tears. It was the most beautiful and the most heartbreaking thing anyone had ever said to him. "T, I love you so much it scares me." "JK, then let's be scared together." For a while, it was enough. They lived in their fragile bubble of stolen hours. But life has a way of forcing a choice. The bubble was about to be popped, not by a loud bang, but by a quiet, life-changing consequence. A few weeks later, Taehyung started feeling strange. Tired all the time, nausea in the mornings, a sensitivity to smells. At first, he blamed stress. But when his period didn't come, a cold, impossible dread began to creep into his heart. He bought a test, hands shaking. He waited for the result in the locked bathroom, his world hanging on two little lines. When he saw them clear, undeniable, the floor fell away from beneath him. Author's point of view. The positive pregnancy test felt like a brick in Taehyung's hand. He stared at it, unblinking, hoping the lines would rearrange themselves into a different answer. They didn't. Pregnant. He was pregnant. And the father was his stepbrother. A wave of nausea, unrelated to the pregnancy, washed over him. He sank to the cold bathroom floor, pulling his knees to his chest. Panic, sharp and clawing, ripped through him. What was he going to do? How could this be happening? He was a man. This wasn't supposed to be possible, but deep down, in a part of his biology he never discussed, he knew. His doctor had once mentioned a rare intersex condition internally that made him different. He had never thought much of it, never imagined this could be a result. He needed to tell Jungkook. The thought terrified him more than anything. He waited until the dead of night. He crept into Jungkook's room, the test hidden in his fist. Jungkook was awake, reading under a small lamp. He smiled when he saw Taehyung, but the smile faded when he saw his pale, terrified face. "JK, T, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost." Taehyung couldn't speak. He just held out his trembling hand and opened his fingers. The plastic stick rolled onto Jungkook's bed. Jungkook picked it up, frowned in confusion, and then his eyes went wide. He stared at it, then at Taehyung, then back at the test. The color drained from his face. "JK, what is this? Is this a joke?" His voice was hoarse. "T, it's mine," Taehyung whispered, tears finally spilling over. "I took it today. JK. But how? Taehyung, he couldn't finish the sentence. I'm different, Koo. Inside. I never told anyone, not even you. I didn't think it mattered, until now. The room was so silent Taehyung could hear the frantic beating of his own heart. Jungkook looked utterly shattered. He dropped the test like it had burned him and stood up, pacing the room. JK, you're pregnant. With he ran both hands through his hair, pulling at it. JK, oh my God. Oh my God, Taehyung. I'm sorry, Taehyung sobbed, crumbling. I'm so sorry. The apology broke Jungkook from his spiral. He rushed to Taehyung, kneeling in front of him and taking his icy hands. JK, don't you dare apologize. This isn't your fault. He took a deep, shaky breath. JK, we did this together. We're in this together. What are we going to do? Taehyung cried. Our parents, the world, JK. I don't know, Jungkook said, frustration and fear evident in his voice. But then he cupped Taehyung's face, forcing him to look up. JK, but I know I love you. And that is our baby. However impossible, it's a part of us. He pulled Taehyung into a tight embrace, rocking him gently as he cried. The fear was still there, a monstrous thing in the corner of the room, but in Jungkook's arms, Taehyung felt a sliver of courage. JK, we'll figure it out. First, we need to see a doctor. Make sure you're okay. We'll take it one step at a time. The next few days were a blur of secret doctor's appointments, confirmed by blood tests and ultrasounds. It was real. There was a tiny, growing life inside Taehyung. Seeing the small, blurry image on the screen made it all simultaneously more terrifying and more miraculous. They decided they needed to tell one person they could trust, Seokjin, Jungkook's older biological brother. Jin was wise, kind, and fiercely protective. They met him at his apartment. When they told him, Jin sat in stunned silence for a full minute. Jin, wow, that's a lot. JK, Hyung, we need help. We don't know what to do. Jin looked at Taehyung's scared face, at his baby brother's desperate eyes, and his expression softened. Jin, okay. First, you both breathe. This is a huge, life-altering thing. But you are not alone, he sighed. You will have to tell the parents eventually. But not yet. Let's get Taehyung the best care first. And we need a plan. Having Jin on their side was like finding a lifeboat in a stormy sea. But the ocean was still raging. The secret was growing, literally, inside Taehyung. And soon, it would be impossible to hide. Author's point of view. With Jin's help, they managed the first few months. Taehyung's nausea was bad, and his emotions were a roller coaster. Jungkook was his constant anchor, sneaking him ginger tea, holding his hair back, rubbing his back during anxious nights. Their love deepened in a new way. It was no longer just passionate secret trysts. It was Jungkook reading pregnancy books on his phone. It was Taehyung placing Jungkook's hand on his still flat stomach, whispering, "Our little star is here." It was a fierce, protective love that grew with every passing day. But as Taehyung entered his 4th month, small bump began to form. Loose sweaters could only hide so much. The storm broke on a Sunday family dinner. Taehyung's mother, Heyoung, was an observant woman. Taehyung, you've been looking a bit full lately. Are you eating too much takeout? Your face is rounder. Taehyung froze, a piece of kimchi halfway to his mouth. Just sleeping a lot, Oma. Maybe a little weight gain. Jungkook's father, Mr. Jian, chuckled. At his age, it's normal. Jungkook, pass the rice. But Heyoung's eyes narrowed. Later, when Taehyung stood up to clear the table, his sweater rode up slightly in the back. Heyoung saw it, the subtle change in his posture, the slight curve of his lower abdomen that was unmistakable to a mother's eye. She said nothing then, but after dinner, she went to his room. Taehyung, tell me the truth. Are you unwell? I'm fine, Oma. Heyoung, look at me. Her voice was gentle but firm. I am your mother. I know my child. Something is happening. Are you? She hesitated, the idea seeming impossible even to her. Could you be pregnant? Taehyung's walls crumbled. The fear, the loneliness of carrying the secret, overwhelmed him. He burst into tears, his hands instinctively cradling his stomach. That was all the confirmation she needed. Her hand flew to her mouth. Heyoung, how? Who is the father, Taehyung? Tell me right now. At that moment, Jungkook, who had been listening from the hallway, pushed the door open. His face was pale but determined. He walked in and stood beside Taehyung, taking his hand. JK, I am. The silence that followed was deafening. Heyoung stared at their joined hands, at her stepson's defiant face, at her son's tear-streaked one. The pieces clicked together in a horrifying picture. Heyoung, you too, she stumbled back, her face ashen. Jian Jungkook, he is your brother, JK, not by blood. Jungkook shot back, his grip on Taehyung's hand tightening. And I love him. We love each other, and we're going to have a baby. The shouting started then. Mr. Jian was called in. Accusations flew, disgusting, sinful, a betrayal. The happy family facade shattered into a million sharp pieces. Taehyung stood between Jungkook and their parents' fury, feeling like his heart was being torn in two. Jungkook shielded him, taking the brunt of the anger. Mr. Jian, you will end this. You will leave this house, and you, he pointed at Taehyung, you will take care of that problem. JK, no. Jungkook's voice was quiet, but cut through the noise like steel. JK, if Taehyung leaves, I leave. If he stays, I stay. And our baby is not a problem. It's our child. You can hate us, disown us, but you will not separate us. He turned to Taehyung, his eyes blazing with a love so strong it left no room for doubt. JK, pack your things. We're leaving. In the middle of the night, with their parents heartbroken and angry cries echoing behind them, Jungkook and Taehyung left the only home they'd known. They had nothing but each other, a secret life growing inside T, and a love that was being tested by fire. Author's point of view. The first weeks were the hardest. Jin let them stay in his spare room. They were heartbroken, scared, and faced with the practical realities of an impending baby and no support. But love is a powerful fuel. Jungkook got 2 jobs, one during the day at a recording studio, his passion for music finally finding a use, and one at night stocking shelves. He came home exhausted, but always with a smile for Taehyung. Taehyung's body changed, his bump growing into a beautiful, round curve. On the days when fear won, when he cried missing his mother or worried about the future, Jungkook would kneel before him, press his ear to Taehyung's stomach, and whisper to their baby, "JK, hey, little star, Appa is here. Appa loves you and your tea, Appa, so much. We're going to be okay because we have each other." One by one, their friends found out. Jimin cried, then became fiercely protective, buying baby clothes and vitamins. Hoseok offered financial advice. Nam and Yoongi, who were older, used their connections to help Jungkook find better work. They built a new family, one made of choice, not obligation. One evening, 6 months pregnant and glowing, Taehyung was organizing the tiny baby socks Jimin had bought. Jungkook came home, looking more serious than usual. "T, what's wrong? Did something happen?" Jungkook shook his head. He got down on one knee right there in their small living room. He didn't have a ring box. He held a simple silver band. "JK, Kim Taehyung." Taehyung's breath caught. "JK, I know this isn't a palace. I know our story isn't a fairy tale. It's messy and complicated, and people call us wrong. But you are the only right thing in my entire life. This baby, our little star, is proof of a love that's bigger than rules, bigger than fear." His eyes shone with tears. "Will you marry me, not as my stepbrother, but as my soulmate, my best friend, the mother of my child, my forever?" Taehyung was crying happy, healing tears. He nodded, unable to speak, and held out his hand. "T, yes, 1,000 times yes." They had a small, simple wedding in a park a month later. Jin gave Taehyung away. Jimin and Hoseok were the witnesses. Namjo and Yoongi provided the food. As they exchanged vows under the setting sun, Taehyung in a beautiful, flowy suit that accommodated his bump. They felt the weight of their journey and the lightness of their future. "T, I vow to choose you every day, in every storm. You are my home, Jian Jungkook. JK, I vow to protect our little family with everything I am. You are my heart, Kim Taehyung." The final chapter of this part of their story came on a rainy spring morning in a delivery room, with Jungkook holding his hand. Taehyung brought their daughter into the world. She was tiny, perfect, with Taehyung's lips and Jungkook's eyes. They named her Seoyeon, meaning auspicious and beautiful. As they held her together, a family of 3, the past hurts seemed to fade. Looking at their daughter, at the love in Jungkook's eyes, Taehyung knew. T, she was worth it. Every tear, every fear. She is our love made real. JK, and you, Jungkook said, kissing Taehyung's forehead, and then his daughter's, are my everything. Their parents, Seeing their unwavering love and the beautiful baby began a slow, hesitant journey toward forgiveness. Love, in the end, proved to be the most powerful force of all. Author's point of view. And so, the stepbrothers who fell in love, who faced the world and a miracle, built their own happily ever after. It wasn't perfect or easy, but it was theirs. It was real. And in the quiet moments, with their little girl between them, they knew that sometimes the most complicated beginnings lead to the simplest, most beautiful truths. Love is love. Family is who you choose, and forever starts with a single, brave choice to follow your heart.